maximum did Wesley. He got his king all the way to f8, and then with the two pawns on f5, h5, the extra g3 pawn was useless. Let's go, let's go to the game. Is this now our remaining game?
This is our remaining game.
Okay, Anish trying to hold the inferior side. He's a pawn down. What a trap this last move set up. It invites f5, which would immediately be met by bishop h6, and you'd be feeling so terrible.
Well, the king has stepped forward. It's been checked away, though.
Wait
how far can you go?
I said, right, that was my question. Maybe it was time to go boldly marching up the board. This doesn't look like we're getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere here with this. Rook d5. How many seconds did you say?
Yeah, so he had 13 seconds. He has 13 seconds now. And Anish just played king e6. So 10 seconds on the clock. It's ticking down.
So he had made his previous move with 3 seconds on his clock.
And then we've reached this position before.
Right, I was going to say, again, f5 check and knight f4 is the sole idea. We just have to do it when we're not in a pin. And Gukesh is doing his best. Maybe he can bring his king to h3. Can he go king f1?
King f3? Rook a3 is going to be the answer. Hang on a second. How many
times been here before.
Have we been in this position?
For sure. He just made that move, bishop g7.
You can feel he's not very experienced, right? Like in hovering around with the pieces.
Right.
Okay, can you go rook b1, rook d1, and then bring the king to h3 and then free your pieces that way? Still a draw, of course.
Of course.
6 seconds.
King e4. Now this
to block on b4. Okay, something
But he's had
changes.
this possibility for a long time.
Just don't.
All right.
Don't. Oh, he traded.
He traded, yes. It should be
bishop to c3.
Relatively easy draw, I would think.
Knight has to come back just to keep the bishop safely away from the e1 square. Yeah, first impressions are this is a very easy draw, no?
Is there even a plan?
If there is a plan, once again, it's playing for f5, putting my knight on e3.
We've seen from Gukesh's game against Prague that the dream is to swap off the bishop for the knight and then get in this f5 move.
Right. Good luck.
It's a dream.
Look, you know, we just give the marching orders and we let others accomplish the mission. Yeah, this does feel really safe-ish, doesn't it?
King f3.
Bishop back to e1. I mean, it's not that I was afraid of g4 in any measure. I'm ready to meet g4 with h takes g4. But it just felt like good form.
Well, you can go king g2 to get it to h3 and then push for g4. Although, what have I achieved?
You're right, that's the question. I like this move. Knight e3. Maybe on a good day I can do it in a better way. Knight e3 and g4.
So the big problem for white, though, is white doesn't have any stable squares for the knight.
No, exactly. And the stable squares are these dark squares. Yeah. It wasn't the right structure to have. So I can go knight g2 and g4, yay, but that is just a draw.
And if you move the white pawns one row up the board, like say you had white's f5, g4, h5,
I feel more enthusiastic. I don't know if I gotten anywhere, but it just feels so much better, Jovi. It's like I like the determination and the grit that Gukesh played that move, knight b6. Like, yeah, gotcha, knight b6.
Right? Knight to e3.
Right. Again, we're just looking for some kind of a moment where we could play f5 and then magically play knight f4.
You can do it. You can do it now.
Yeah, but the problem is after f5, I need to play knight f4 right here.
Yeah,
if I
knight to
go
d5.
check, I'm not picking up the h5 pawn. But if I could have played knight f4, not that that was winning either. I mean, it's a tragedy of the position.
20 seconds for Gukesh.
But when you're in a position where you're pawn up, you feel like you have an obligation to play for a win, even when you know the position is objectively a draw.
Right.
I mean,
And we've seen that trap, you know, f5 with the idea of putting a knight on f4. So I think it's a great idea to kind of mess around with moves,
absolutely.
lull your opponent into a false sense of security. Like, for instance, here, now you can go knight to e2.
Yep. And I do, in fact, believe they've reached a position like this, not identical. To his credit, by the way, I mean, Anish has played incredibly fast. By the way, I think, yeah, I mean, at a certain moment you had to play g4, otherwise they were meeting the 3-move repetition claim. They were getting close. Yeah. Well, now, unfortunately for Gukesh, everything is even. There are times, Mira, when I feel that Anish could have been like the greatest player in the world. Sometimes he's just unbeatable. He gets positions that he just plays really well. And we saw him at his very best the last round of Bucharest. Literally, once he got that winning position against Fabi,
yeah,
flawless.
Close to perfect technique.
Yeah, flawless.
Probably just perfect. Yeah.
And the way he's handling his business in this ending, very impressive. I mean, it just feels like Gukesh really never had a chance with his extra pawn.
I don't quite get it. What's going on here?
No. Well, finally we've got the setup. We want pawn on g6, king on g7, bishop. I was going to say bishop patrolling the long diagonal. Nothing can really go wrong. Probably I would have kept my bishop myself on the f6 square and just gone king h6 and said, okay, what are you going to do? King h6, king g7, bishop f6 kind of prevents both knight e5 and knight g5. And let me just refresh my board. Well, I must say that today's broadcast, comparing with the Bucharest broadcast, has been a very, are you ready for it? Rapid day of broadcasting. It's gone by very quickly today.
Yeah, I mean, the games have been so entertaining.
Truly.
We've seen opposite side castling, we've seen excellent preparation, we've seen fantastic counterattacks.
Right.
And
great saves.
Great saves.
Yeah.
Bishop coming back to e7.
And
I mean, it's really had all the storylines. And so this is why I feel like the future of chess
might be
just in rapid.
Yeah, it might just be more. And we saw the brilliancy, a sparkling tactical game played by Levon against Vidit. Unfortunately for Vidit, I mean, he's been victimized by some really great play. Ivan Saric just won against him. And
I think one of the problems with classical chess is just the preparation.
It's just so good. The guys are just so good. They defend tenaciously and they hold these games. Gukesh doing his best, but
I'll tell you
not
something.
getting much.
We are getting close to breaking a record, though, because
that?
the longest game was 115 moves
And where
played
do we
last
stand?
year between Caruana and Nepo. That was a draw, and we are now on 111. So we
I
can
think
crack
we're gonna
open the champagne, guys.
I think we're gonna. I mean, in snooker, when they score a century, everybody cheers. In chess, everybody groans. I mean, a very dubious distinction.
I think
Breaking the record for the longest game. Yay, I think. Yeah, this is exactly the setup.
It's desperate. Because one of the best moves in the position is to capture on g6.
oh, we have
H5.
Oh no!
Wait a second.
Hang on a second.
That's it. These
115, 116. We've broken it though.
By one?
By one move.
There was a power lifter in the Olympiads from the Soviet Union who used to break his own world records by like a half a kilo at a time. He had like 24